Well, welcome back everyone, and thanks for coming. I'd like to return for a moment to this topic of ethics and equipoise. Remember, I said a few lectures ago that the investigator, the participants, maybe the physicians of the participants, have to be in this frame of mind of equipoise to justify doing a randomized trial, justifying letting a coin flip decide how a person is going to be treated. Well, we might start a study in a frame of mind that we think equipoise is appropriate, the study is ethical to start. But things can happen during the lifetime of the study that might make us no longer believe that the justifications for doing this study, the ethical justifications, still pertain. So we have to have a way to monitor trials and to stop trials at certain points in time if we need to do so for a variety of reasons I'll be talking about, but ethics being one of them. And that's the role of what is known as a Data Safety Monitoring Board, a DSMB, in clinical trials or randomized controlled trials. What this board is made up of, this is committee. It's a committee usually made of outside scientists. It might contain some people who are not scientists, people from the community also, because they have a lot of power. They're the ones that are going to decide when a study is going to stop. So what they need to have is access to the data, not just at the end of the study, but at certain key points in time during the study. They have maybe annual meetings or twice-a-year meetings where they look at the data, look at the results to date. And they're going to be looking at unblinded data. They have to know what treatment a person's in, because if the two groups are showing different outcomes, it's important that this Data Safety Monitoring Board know that the group with the better outcomes are receiving either the new treatment or receiving the standard of care. So typically, these board members are giving full access to unblinded data. Their mission is to decide when to stop the study, when to terminate the study. That's the role of this Data Safety Monitoring Board. And their ultimate priority is the safety of the patients in this study. Now, we investigators do a study not only to find an association between a risk factor and outcome within the people who are in the study, but also hopefully to expand that, to infer that, to generalize that to larger populations. We're not interested in whether smoking causes heart disease among the 4,434 people in your Framingham data set. We're more interested in whether smoking causes heart disease in general. In the clinical trial, we want to give the best treatment for these patients in this trial, but we're really interested in knowing what's the best treatment to give to future people. But the Data Safety Monitoring Board, their primary goal is the safety of the participants in that study. Secondary is other people, non-participants in the study. So if you're on this Data Safety Monitoring Board, you have to be in the mind that you are still in equipoise to let a study keep going, to allow people to be randomized or to still be continued to treat with one treatment option versus another. So you're the group that decides when to terminate a study. Now, what are the reasons that a Data Safety Monitoring Board might terminate a study, might stop a study earlier than anticipated? The study was planned to go on for 5 years. 2 years into the study, it was stopped. What are the reasons it might be stopped? The one reason is these preliminary analyses, just based on the first 2 years of the data collected so far, show an effect. This new treatment might be better than the standard of care. And ethically, we can no longer deprive the study participants who are currently receiving the standard of care of this potentially better treatment, this new treatment. And another ethical issue is we have to get the message out to the medical community as quickly as possible. So we want to stop studies early if there's evidence, good statistical evidence, that imply that one treatment is working better than another. Another reason for starting a trial is that you might find out that the side effects from this new treatment are so severe that no one would ever want to give this to people. We have to stop the study right now because the side effects we see among people given this new treatment are much worse than we expected. We're no longer in the equipoise that the benefits and the harms are equal to people in this study. There's more harm from the new treatment, more side effects. We have to study for that reason. Another reason for stopping the study is we might find that there's no evidence that one treatment is better than another. it's halfway during the study, we're not seeing any benefit. We might be able to project that to say whether we're going to see a benefit later on. Is it likely something will pop up in the next half of the study? If not, we might stop the study early just because it has no apparent effect whatsoever. And we hope that the new treatment would be better than standard of care, but it's not proving to be true. So let's stop the study. There might be some mechanical problems for starting a study that don't have to do with the benefit of the treatment. Those we mean by problems with the mechanics. We anticipated enrolling 100 people each year, randomize them to receive treatment A or treatment B. But we can't get people to give us informed consent. I'm asking people to be in my study. I'm asking a couple of hundred people each year. I expected roughly half of them to say yes. I expected to get 100 people each year. I'm finding 200 people each year, but only 10 of them are saying yes. So I'm not going to be able to achieve my projected sample sizes that I wanted to do this study. The Data Safety Monitoring Board say we have to cut our losses. This is not just a feasible study. Patients are not in equipoise, or their physicians are not in equipoise. You just can't enroll people. Or the data you're collecting might be lousy data. You're just not be able to collect the data you want on these people. They're not being able to be interviewed or followed or something that mechanically the study is not working. Or you're measuring compliance one way or another and you notice people are not taking the pills they're assigned to take. Again, we should stop the study. The last reason I want to mention is the biggest fear of epidemiologists, statisticians who do randomized controlled trials. We start out with a study expecting there to be a state of equipoise. We don't know whether this new treatment is better or worse than standard of care. We start the study. We intend the study to go on for 5 years. 6 months into the study, we read a journal article of another group doing a very similar study, say in Europe, where they found that suddenly this drug, which might be very similar to the drug we're looking at, is better than standard of care, or is worse than standard of care. We are no longer in a state of equipoise because new information came apparent to us. And that has led us to believe ourselves, the investigators, not to be in a state of equipoise. Again, we have to stop the study. Those are the reasons the Data Safety Monitoring Board might step in and say, terminate this study. In a few lectures from now, I'll give you an example of one classical study where the Data Safety Monitoring Board did stop the study early, and I'll explain the justification, the reason for that at that time. But the next time we get together, I want to talk about something about analysis. Although that's something Marcello is spending more time in this course discussing, I want to talk about the types of analyses we do in randomized controlled trials. So I'll see you next time.